when we get caught into perhaps tunnel vision or victim mindset, we can't see sometimes what other people can see, which is something like a situation isn't quite as bad as perhaps we think it is. For me, reflection is our greatest tool for all of us. To be able to look back and go, do you know what, that problem, all those problems that I had last year that I thought were going to kill me, destroy me, blow up the world, nothing happened. If you put your expectations so high that you look up at them and you just feel inferior and demotivated, lower them right down. Nobody else is going to know. They'll just see you with a smile on your face, feeling accomplished.
So my guest today, I am joined by my good buddy, Will. We met actually on Instagram. Beautiful thing about Instagram, but he's a clinical hypnotherapist, a NLP practitioner, CBT practitioner, which, by the way, I want to talk about Coddling of the American Mind, because that was the first book actually that introduced me to cognitive behavioral therapy, mental health, first aid provider, personal trainer. The guy does it all. And what I love mostly about Will and why I wanted him on the podcast is because he combines the inner and the external. Right? You have the external, which is the personal training, with the inner shit, which, by the way, if you don't have your mind right, there's a reason why you're not getting the most you want out of your external. So with that being said, Will, thank you so much for joining the podcast, man.
Thank you very much. What a great introduction that was. It's a long list, right? I'm as passionate to develop myself as I am to develop other people. So,
yeah, no, that works out, dude. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is actually the coddling of the American mind. So I remember I had a weird laundry list of books that I've read to prepare being a father. And it's super odd because I didn't read the normal parenting book. I read the stuff almost like the tales of what not to do. And so one of the first books I picked up was Coddling of the American Mind. And I guess I didn't really consider cognitive behavioral therapy before until that book. So maybe kind of educate us a little bit of what CBT is and I guess how you kind of stumbled upon that. We'll kind of start there.
Yeah, it's ironic you asked me this because the podcast I was just listening to, you were talking about the change of way we see things and perception, and that really is what CBT is. For those of you that can't see me, I often get called a psychological weatherman as I do this demonstration. Input comes in through our five senses, comes into our mind. Things we see, hear, feel, smell and taste. Sometimes it's our intuition. Based on that input, our thoughts on it create our feelings, and our feelings influence our behaviours. Now, the thoughts, feelings and behaviours are either all positive or all negative. A positive thought does not create a negative feeling. And so where CBT works is to be able to take control of our thoughts to change how we feel about a situation and therefore be more in control of our behaviours. And that's what I do with my clients a lot, because when we get caught into perhaps tunnel vision or victim mindset or our belief structure, which we can't always see out of, we can't see sometimes what other people can see, which is something like a situation isn't quite as bad as perhaps we think it is. So to be able to change our thought, to change our perception of a situation can completely change it. There's a post on my Instagram page that I wrote a while ago. Nothing changes if nothing changes, but sometimes one thing changes and everything changes. And usually that's perception of a situation.
So is it fair to say that like cognitive behavioral therapy is really the skill set of reframing?
Yes.
How we look at the world.
That's very, very simplified it.
I'm a very simple guy, Will, so I like to simplify things.
One of my biggest compliments from my clients and people online, that I make things really simple. And I was using this technique many years before I knew what it was. And then I looked up on YouTube. I do that already, so I got myself a certificate. And it's my biggest tool with helping clients.
So then let's back up then and go into the difference between like cognitive, because I think all these things that you do, they're all just different tools, right? You have hammers, you have wrenches, like they all kind of may aid in building a house or a foundation of yourself. And so then how do you use things like neurolinguistic programming coupled with CBT? Like what would be the difference and ultimately how you use those two things? Because they kind of seem similar a little bit.
They are, yeah. CBT will work, I guess the first time I've ever been asked this. So CBT is more about our conscious state of mind as we consciously see things and assess them, whereas NLP goes more into the belief system, which is in the unconscious mind. So I can do a phobia cure with NLP techniques. And my mum had arachnophobia for 40 years, and I got rid of it in 8 minutes using NLP techniques. Yeah.
Because NLP is obviously how we speak, right? Like, so it takes the language
Yeah.
and reprograms maybe how we talk to ourselves, which then taps into CPT or CBD, or oh my God, CBT, because the thought is what creates the patterns of meaning, right? So if we handle the language and then we reframe using CPT, you couple those together, you have massive change.
Yes, but clients or most people will get the perception change with CBT, but you can't expect them to use NLP techniques because you'd need to do a course to learn that unless you've been studying it yourself. Although when I did my NLP course, I thought I do this already. So it's those of us that get into these courses that we do. A lot of us, I'm sure you'll agree, we realise we're doing it already. What does that mean? Perhaps we were always meant to do it, but NLP works more with the belief system, which is in the unconscious mind. That's the niggle in the back of your mind when you tell yourself, "I've got this," and you get a niggle going, "No, you haven't." What it really is you're lying to yourself, as in what you just told yourself doesn't fit your belief system, doesn't fit what you really believe.
Oh, by the way, I wanted to, like you mentioned, obviously your mom having arachnophobia. So I have it's not unhealthy fear of spiders, but I do dislike spiders. I live in Arizona, so we have like black widows and shit. So like there's a reason to be somewhat afraid of spiders here. But I realized where it came from was because my mom, wonderful human being. But you know, it was the second movie I've ever seen in my life.
Before you tell me something.
I have to clarify that. She is a good person. She tried her best. But my first movie I ever saw in the theaters was RoboCop, because it was based in Detroit. That one was my mom's fault. That was my dad's fault. The second movie, though, was Arachnophobia. That was the second movie I ever saw. Terrible. Yeah. So anyway, now for like ever, when I sit down on a toilet, immediately I'm wondering, is there a spider in there that's going to kill me? Okay, so then walk me through how you became the guide almost and the coach that you are. Because it's my belief system that our purpose usually comes from our own pain and trying to heal our own pain, trying to kind of address our own pain, and then we go, holy fuck, I'm really good at this, I'm going to help other people. So walk me through the journey of becoming Will. I know it's a big question.
Becoming Will. Well, so there's kind of two sides to this. Most people think that I'm going to tell them I've gone through a lot emotionally, and that's what made me want to help people. They're both. I've been through a lot emotionally, but that wasn't the drive to help people. When I was younger, I used to work for a grocery store called Waitrose here in England, and as I progressed through up the ranks, I got promotion after promotion. My teams got bigger until I had a team of 135 people, and I had to delegate tasks and upskill people to get the job done. I couldn't do it all myself, and I found a passion to develop other people as I saw them grow, as I saw them appreciate and really thrive off the responsibility. I really enjoyed it. So that's how I got into coaching and developing other people. And as I went on my own development courses with the grocery store, I met different people who suggested the clinical hypnosis course, the NLP course, and they got me on that path. So that's where the passion to help other people came. My own mental health journey. Oof, how long we got?
We have all day, man. That's why I love podcasts.
Typical parents divorced when I was 7. Didn't really feel anything about it. As I look back, I'm over that. I don't feel anything. Really? That probably is a sign that maybe I still need to deal with it. I had a hypnotherapy session once where my mentor from my course did a session with me, and that night I went home and had a dream. I was walking up a set of wooden stairs to an attic in a house, and there was an attic door, and as I opened the door there was a large wooden wardrobe, and as I went to the wardrobe I knew someone was inside, and I knew it was me. And as I went to open the left door, or the right door with my left hand, I opened it, woke up, and had my first and only panic attack. So I have inner child locked in a wardrobe in the back of my mind, still needs to come out. Ironically, I've already come out of the closet once. I don't really want to do it again. So it really is about that. And that's what I help clients with. That kind of emotional reaction that we can get that comes out of nowhere, where we go, I lost control, that's the part we still need to integrate and heal. So that's how I help help clients.
So the hypnotherapy, like, do you feel like hypnotherapy allows you to like get past your own resistance? Because it's like hypnotherapy, I feel like, again, I've only been hypnotized once, and it was a gag kind of funny thing. It wasn't like
Is it
for
a
a
stage
serious reason,
hypnosis?
huh?
You're on a stage hypnosis.
Yes, yes. I took my shirt off. It was a big thing. So,
I mean,
but
we can't make people do the things they don't want to do, and usually the
yeah.
people will pick the loudest people, the show offs. So,
Well, I was a show off in high school, so it makes sense. But what I felt from that was that, to that point, yes, like he didn't make me do anything I didn't want to do. But it gets the friction of you out of the way. It's just the thing and then the decision. So do you feel like that's why hypnotherapy helps clients so much, is because it gets them out of their own way? Or how does it work?
yeah, another phrase I coined a while ago. The only place we ever get stuck is in our mindset. The only person standing in your way is you. And if you imagine the mind is like an iceberg, just represented as an iceberg in your imagination, the large part of the iceberg that comes at the top of the water, that represents our conscious mind. That's everything you and I are aware of in this moment as we talk. It's about 7 to 9 things only. And as the conversation develops, you might drop things under the surface of the water into the largest part of the iceberg that you can't see. That represents the unconscious mind. Now, if I ask you, what's your mother's name? What is it?
Michelle?
You weren't thinking of that before I asked you, right?
No.
You weren't thinking of it. And as our conversation develops, you'll just forget that and it will slip back below the surface. Your mind plucked that up to answer the question. And now it puts it back as you forget I've asked you. And so in the unconscious mind, the large part of the iceberg, that houses every experience we've ever had. At the bottom of the iceberg, there's childhood trauma, perhaps. Trauma goes there, childhood memories. The brain isn't developed enough until about the age of 2.5 to actually store memories. Usually, if we believe we remember something at 1 year old, it's because we've been told the story 1,000 times. Trauma goes there. The trauma can just lie undetected, but it will affect the way we behave. Our belief system is developed through the unconscious mind based on how we're treated as a child. Our identity is formed as we describe ourselves around the age of 7 based on how we're treated by parents, siblings, etc. The clients that I help, I describe their identity because this is how they describe it, as not good enough or not as good as other people. And so those people will then develop a belief structure under that identity of things that they're what they know about the world. Okay, so I can't do this, I can't do that, I shouldn't do this, I won't do this, etc. The world is flat, for example. Nothing has any meaning until we give it meaning. Nothing on the entire planet, no meaning until we give it meaning. Because as children around the age of 7, we give stuff meaning. And so we can develop that belief structure that perhaps we aren't as good as other people. Those people won't stand up for themselves, can't take compliments, just won't feel as good as other people, etc., etc. They might get into abusive or uncomfortable, unhappy relationships over and over and over because they will reinforce the belief system. So although it feels bad, it feels right that it is there. So they just reinforce.
I deserve this. So this is because essentially like they've already created meetings, so they're just looking for evidence to support the thing that
that's
they
what
have.
we do. As I believe my life is terrible, I'll find evidence all over the place, but nothing has any meaning until we give it meaning. I'll stub my toe and say, I told you, brother, my life's shit. I stubbed my toe. There's no meaning. So what I do with what I've done with myself is none of the negative stuff has any meaning and loads of positive. Because my clients will create a negative belief about themselves that makes us feel bad with no evidence. So I do the opposite. Complete opposite. Every day the sun rises, I believe that means that I'm amazing and everybody on the planet believes I'm amazing. Yeah. And of course, nobody tells me otherwise, and even if they did, 7.5 other billion people think I'm amazing. So whatever, God is not knocking on my door telling me I can't use the sunrise as proof of my self-worth because it doesn't matter. So we just create the positives because we do it with the negatives and it means nothing. The truth about self-worth is simple. It's a decision which can be made daily or hourly with much precision. Yet despite the absence of any actual criteria, this choice can often cause upset or hysteria. Others' opinions of us will determine undeniably dictates if we're a monarch or just vermin. But if you look closely, you'll notice and see that people are all equal to you and to me. And those whose opinions make you feel bad and down have motive of power and steal your crown. So stand up tall and show them your presence. Kings and queens aren't concerned with the opinions of peasants. So you can decide as you start each day to build yourself in your own special way. Go make a list of length and of girth, which allows only you to determine your worth. There's no self-worth checklist, so create it. I look at myself in the mirror every day, tell myself I love you, I appreciate you. That means that I have good self-worth. Anything that tries to take it away, other people, for example, won't work because I've built my shield, because I've made things mean that I'm good enough. But
what I love about what you're saying too is the meaning around trauma. I got into trouble recently, Will. Not too recently ago. And this is actually why there's certain people I don't associate with online, is because they want to stay in that victim mentality. And I don't know if you know this, but Elevated, all of my brands, everything we do from the agency to the academy, is built around the idea of removing obstacles and excuses from people. That's my only purpose in life. And so recently I got asked this question. I want to hear your thoughts on it. But I said, like you, everything, nothing has meaning unless you give it meaning. And I said, I have this odd thing about trauma that, because I grew up in a domestic violent home, and I was a victim because everyone told me I was a victim. But there was a moment where I chose not to be a victim anymore. And it was just like, I'm not going to allow you to dictate to me that that's considered trauma. And so what I said was, like, trauma is only trauma when we decide it's trauma. But the moment we change it around and we go, it's not trauma, this is a really good learning opportunity. I remember there's a moment, I was in a counselor's room in high school, and she was bringing up my past trauma, because every time you go into a new school, whatever, you get a new counselor, and they want to talk about the same shit, and you're like, and I remember at one point, and at one point, I go, I'm not interested in talking about this anymore, and she was like, well, no, I think you need to, and I go, well, no, here's why, is because I am incredibly fortunate to have gone through that, because I have classmates, the hardest thing they've ever been through in their life is their mommy and daddy didn't give them an allowance.
Yeah.
The hardest thing I've ever been through, that's why I'm so damn resilient, is because I grew up homeless for a while. Like and then at that point I stopped going to those counselors. And so I'm curious on your point. And again, I got in a lot of trouble afterwards I thought about it. I go, why did people get so mad that I said trauma is only trauma when we make it trauma? And I realized, it's because their identity's tied into that. If I remove the victimhood from you, you don't know who you are anymore. And that's probably fucking scary.
Yeah, absolutely. I had one client say to me, Will, I know I'm resisting these sessions because I know that doorway you're asking me to walk through with you. I never even mentioned doorway, it was her metaphor. That doorway you're asking me to walk through with you, I know I should be happier through there, but I don't know who I am through there. But I know who I am here. And I'm like, you could be wherever the hell you want to be when you walk through that door.
Yeah.
So yes, I agree with you. Yeah, absolutely. Victim mentality. It's a safe place to be. I'm in this terrible situation. Everybody else has put me here. I'm not responsible for it, and I'm stuck. Great, safe. I haven't got any responsibility. And so people do get stuck there, and they're kind of unaware of it. I've had 2 clients I've given refunds to because I've gone, great, you're in victim mentality, and they've seen it as a criticism. I'm like, no, this is great. We can move past it, and they're not ready to let it go because it's safe. I haven't got to do anything. While I'm here, I don't have to do anything. Trauma, I mean, what a prime example. I think you need to talk about it. Well, when we say you need to others, what we're really saying is I need you to, or I need you to need to. Mm-hmm. Notice it was her need to get you to talk about the trauma, not yours. And as she said, I think you need to. No, I don't need to. And we can often do that to other people. You need to. No, I don't need to. Whose need is this? It's yours. Why? Perhaps she wanted more information. But of course, the more you went over it again and again, the more it reinforces this is trauma, this is trauma, this is trauma. And what a great place to be. We can go, no, I'm not doing this anymore. It is a decision. No little poem I write on my page. Lessons needed to be learnt can be painful when burnt. But if you resist, they will persist until you decide and know that every failure is an opportunity to grow. It will keep biting you in the arse, that round and round in circles, until you go, I need to grow from this. But those ones that keep getting burnt are the victims. It's other people. Yeah. Other people do this to me. Why is it I attract narcissists? I hear this sometimes from
Mm-hmm.
women. I attract narcissists. Whoa, there's one common denominator here,
You.
which is not a criticism. With my clients, I encourage them to take as much responsibility for everything that was their responsibility
Yeah.
so that they can change it. Because
I
if
think
everything was somebody else's fault, they can't change it.
because there's someone I know that says something similar, and I won't, because I've also bashed these people on my podcast before, but like there's someone I know that is very much like that. I attract narcissists. All the men I date are narcissists, whatever. And it's like there is another side. People look at narcissism as like egotistical. There's another form of narcissism. Like if you read the book, Don't You Know Who I Am, right? What's her name? Dr. Ramani.
I've got this on my page today of narcissism.
Yeah,
It's a personality
it's called,
disorder.
it's also the you can be a victim narcissist where
Well,
everything is everyone else's fucking fault but yours. Like that's also a
yeah,
form of narcissism too.
of course, yeah. And if you're with a narcissist, a defensive behaviour of a victim of narcissism is narcissistic behaviour because they feel the power of it, and they can. I'll get people constantly go, "Well, I need your help. I'm a narcissist." No, you're not, because you wouldn't
Because
actually
you,
realise.
yeah, I was gonna say, bro, Will, I was reading. Will, I was sorry to cut you off, but I was reading that book. Don't You Know Who I Am? And I kept going to my fiance Kayla, and I was reading that book. I'm like, am I a narcissist? And I was like, I do this. I think I do this. And I was like, going, and she's like, no, because if you were a narcissist, you wouldn't think you were a narcissist. And I was like, okay.
I'm assuming you probably felt some form of negativity about that.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to fucking, like I don't want to fucking do this to people, but
But because some of it is real bad personality disorder, and as they gaslight, which is where they try and persuade the victim that's not reality, will push and push that they were wrong. The victim can start to question their own reality, gaslighting. The narcissist sometimes actually truly believes what they're saying. They actually believe this is real as I'm saying it to you, because they've got stuff going on that they can't see what actually happened. And as they push, actually the victim can then start to question. But yeah, they're usually coupled with each other, narcissism. But yeah, if you're asking and you're feeling a particularly negative way about it, you're definitely not a narcissist.
that's good to know, because I was concerned for a minute. Because I think the biggest thing was, and I think that book was really good, but I just, again, I questioned a lot, and I just questioned things. But like gaslighting, for example, I struggled with, because it's like, no, some people literally have the wrong reality. And so oftentimes, like if I hurt your feeling, I will say, I fucked up. But also, let's have a conversation about why you took such a mundane sentence and you made that be such a big deal for you. And people would say, like, Raylen, you're gaslighting me. I'm like, no, I addressed the fact that I fucked up in the situation, but I also want to help you, because what I said, it was the most mundane shit in the world, and it may not have anything to do with me. So let's talk about that too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not set on what that, because that example for me, as you explain it, isn't gaslighting. It's what if I said to you yesterday, we went out for a coffee and you had 3 coffees, and you go, no, I only had 2, and I'm like, three,
Okay.
until you start to go, did I have 3? That's what it is, where it questions it. But because that where we're checking in on each other, perception is very different to intention sometimes. And so just notice what the intention is, where we, if I've upset you, remember input comes in through our 5 senses. Here's the feeling, is your thoughts on that, what I did that made you feel that way. Don't tell people that, you probably get hit. But it's notice, because if you criticize me, this is where I am with my self-worth. If you sat here and tore into me, criticized me, I'd just go, that's really interesting, mate. Thanks for your time. Thanks for the feedback. Other people will be like, oh my God, he hates me. It's terrible. The whole world's going to explode. It's a choice. It's a choice. So it is how it's usually based on how we feel about ourselves. And so where I've worked on my self-worth, I might get trolled online. I'm like, you picked the wrong person, mate. Because I know no normal person with their life together feels the need to drag anybody else down.
Or has the fucking time for it.
Yeah, it's not about me. What's the problem? It's a choice. It's an absolute choice. So, where we feel, but absolutely another, could just read my page. Your triggers are your responsibility. Once you're aware of them, you should go and sort them out. And if I'm triggering you, not necessarily on purpose, but you're reacting with extreme emotion because of something I've said, then that is technically your problem, unless I'm starting to use it as a weapon, if you like. But, a lot of people can use that. I've met people that will go, you've triggered me, and they'll do it 10 different times. But you can't use this as a defensive weapon or an attack. you're aware of your triggers, go and sort them. So yeah, absolutely. Intention, perception, and noticing, of course, we take in information 3 different ways as people communicate to us. The words they use, the pitch, tone, and volume of their voice, and their body language. Only 7% of the information is the words. 38% pitch, tone, and volume. 55% is the body language. So, of course, this is why we all get texts. We upset each other with text messages. Because I once sent a text to a friend of mine. He went, "Oi, what's your tone?" So there's no tone in it. It's a text. It's how you read it. So it's actually more about you. So having that communication with others, I think it's really important to be self-aware as we behave and recognise other people of great emotional intelligence. We're able to recognise our emotions and their impact on others. Others' emotions impact on us. Our emotions and how they impact us. Self-awareness and self-regulation, as well as a load of other stuff. Just be kind, be open to it, and also just go, yeah, sorry, so let's move on, shall we? But some people can hold on to that sorry and keep holding on, right?
Yeah, I think like that's why when people get really into like discovering themselves, maybe they start going to therapy, whatever, there's this thing that happens for the first 6 months to a year where it goes external. Like I have this friend who started therapy a little while ago, like 6 months ago. And I remember he said to me once, you know what I learned about therapy was that you're a bad friend. That's what I learned in therapy. And I go, bro, I don't think you're doing therapy right. Because normally in therapy, like
I'm a great friend. What are you talking about?
because when I went to therapy, you know what I discovered? That I was the fucking problem and the solution. That's what I learned in therapy. Like, and so I think it's interesting to me because my whole thing has been, I want people to be more selfish. And by that, I mean, take more responsibility for shit, be more selfish in the way that they treat themselves, be more selfish about who they have around them. Yeah, but I use that language, I think, as
some people do that. I feel selfish.
Yeah.
No. It's like I feel selfish because I'm having a day away from my kids.
Unfortunately for me, Will, I'm also a marketer, so I say things just to get a rise out of people, just for the clickbait.
That's what I do too. Yeah. I do too. I mean, I shout at clients. I've been called brutal and everything, because I'm trying to get the trigger to come out. I've been hung up on and everything. It is about that recognition of it all and reflection. For me, reflection is our greatest tool for all of us, to be able to look back and go, do you know what, that problem, all those problems that I had last year that I thought were going to kill me, destroy me, blow up the world, nothing happened. I'm okay. All those people I thought I couldn't live without, none of them in my life now. I'm okay. What am I teaching myself? That actually, when I tell myself the emotional reaction in those situations as well, I'm not normally right. Why? Because I'm using the wrong brain function as I react emotionally, because I might be triggered by trauma or otherwise, and we don't think clearly. We use our fight or flight. It's our limbic system. It's designed to tell us the worst thing possible about the danger. It's illogical, irrational, and emotional. So as you trigger someone, that's the brain function they go into. Illogical, irrational, and emotional.
Yeah. So let me ask you kind of a personal question. What still triggers you, or what are you still working on? Because like for me, for example, I have a 4-year-old son, and I always talk about like the difference of being conscious versus unconscious, right? Like unconscious meaning obviously something triggers and then you get mad, whatever. My son is still the one thing I'm pretty good at realizing, oh no, that's me. I need to like focus on my thoughts and not spiral. I'm pretty good at that from an entrepreneur's perspective. But my son is the thing that like will get me triggered, and he's 4, right? So what are you still working on kind of in your journey?
Rather than me answering you that, because I've worked on mine, why don't we keep talking about your trigger and see if I can help you?
Yeah, okay, sure.
Because I don't. There's stuff in my relationship maybe, but that's a whole different story. It's a private phone call that might last a lot longer than this, but not really, because I can blow and just calm. I know I'm never out of control. When I'm angry, I know I can bring myself down at any moment, because I never get angry with people for any longer than this, because they might see it in my face and hear it in my voice, but I'm the only one that can feel the anger. And it's really destructive as I feel it. And I know someone that gets triggered by a guy that raises his voice at her, and she gets angry. And I said, do you want me to get rid of that trigger? And she said, no, because it makes me feel powerful. And I was like, oof, that is going to come back. And, yeah, because anger does feel powerful in the moment, but if you keep using it, yes, not great. So yeah, I know when I'm highly emotional, I can bring myself back down. My reframing skills, well, let's put it this way, the reason why I'm so good at reframing is that's how the skill I've used to overcome all the shit in my life without even
Well,
realizing
even
it.
the reason why I asked is because I think people have this misconception that once you figure out these tools, you'll never get upset. You'll never, but that's
No,
not really like I've done
no.
tons of, work on myself, but I still get triggered. And
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
the
Well,
speed at which you can come back to baseline.
that's it. Yeah, and knowing I'm not out of control. The other day, on my Alexa in my kitchen, I put on some music. It was new music. I found like really relaxing meditation music. And I came in my living room and sat down. I said to my partner, "God, this music is making me want to cry," and I just burst into tears. Like, and I said, this year's been really stressful. Hopefully we're going to be better next year, and I'm really emotional about it. And the music just makes me
Yeah.
go. And so
It's
yeah, for me
I
that
was
is
listening to
just an
something.
emotional release.
Yeah, I was listening to something the other day, which makes total sense because basically it was like Nikola Tesla. It was like if you want to find all the information about the universe, look at vibration, energy, and frequency. And
Yeah,
so vibration and frequency, that's all music. That's why it could trigger us
yeah.
so well on the emotional side. But
Certain hertz does, yeah, just
yeah,
triggers.
but
Yeah,
for me, again, for my son, I did some like digging on this recently because I was trying to figure out what it was. And so my biggest trigger moment is usually when I'm with my son, I'm trying to feed him. For whatever reason, I like can't get my fucking son to eat. And so I would used to get really, really mad about doing it. I still get a little upset, but I'm better at walking away because my fiance is
what do
so
you get
good.
upset at? The
So,
situation, your
yep.
son, or yourself?
It after thinking about it, my dad went to prison when I was a kid. And so I really badly want to be a good father. And I associated getting my son to eat
Yeah,
with being, if I don't get him to eat, I'm not a good dad. And then it
yeah,
makes me upset. And so I'm like, will you please just fucking eat? I don't swear at my son, but that's like how I feel, right? And then I took some time to think about it. And I'm like, oh, that's the thing. Like, I want to be a good dad so bad. And in that moment, I don't feel like a good dad. So instead of being sad, my go to is anger because I'm a Neanderthal.
So when you were a kid, you said you were homeless, etc. When you were a kid, what's your, just let your mind float, memories associated with food, frustration, anger, eating it or not? Were you told things like, you're not leaving the table till you've eaten it, or
Yep.
there's starving disease in Africa to, finish what's on your plate? What comes up as you
Yeah,
think
all
about
of
it?
that. So it was you got to finish everything on your plate. I also
Yeah.
was resentful about the fact that like the worst thing ever that happened to me as a kid, worst thing. That sounds ridiculous, but it was actually when we were growing up in Detroit. I didn't know we were poor because everyone was poor. It's
That's a
when
good thing, though, right?
yes, but then we moved to the suburbs. And
Yeah.
then we were the poorest people in the suburbs. And I went to my friends' houses, who had meals with their family, who didn't eat at the table. They ate at the table. And so food in general, I think,
Yeah.
was not a joyful experience, I think, overall.
So how did you, because most of the time the only person judging us is ourselves. You
Uh,
judge yourself based on the comparison to your friends.
yeah. Yeah.
And
Like
so
something's
then
wrong with my family.
food was the measure of perhaps worth, and therefore that's what you've associated with. You've made yourself and an anger response. You just get angry with yourself or angry with the situation. Then,
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
old were you? Were you around the age of 7 or a bit older?
Well, yeah, like 7 or 8 when he went in. And then
Oh,
it went on really through high school that I
so at
was noticing
7,
those things. Yeah.
we form our identities. Your reaction to that situation was anger. You've probably got a little bit of inner child work to do, because that boy, unless you've sorted it, the boy comes running forward when you get angry with his association with food, being a good parent, etc. All of that together triggers inner child. He comes out with anger, which is how he would have reacted in the situation. I can help you with hypnosis. You'll be able to bring him in and tell him something that you would have needed to hear then, which will also resonate with you now. You'll feel emotional when you find out, and I can help you find it. But that's what's happening. Inner child, 7-year-old roughly, runs forward when he gets triggered by the food situation, anger response, which is what he would have had or wanted to have, and that's what happens.
Yeah. That
But
makes perfect sense.
consciously, you are working on it. Okay, I've made this a measure. I can now, hopefully I've given you a bit of insight now why exactly it's happened, how you get that reaction. Talk to inner child. Go, I know it's all right, it's okay, I understand the reaction, but it's okay. This is the measure. Remember, nothing has any meaning until we give it meaning. And of course, as you push food on your son, he could develop an eating disorder. He will raise up. He will grow up with his own belief system about food. And he'll come and see me and go, yeah, my dad used to get really angry when I didn't eat. And then he can pass that on. So this is what I hear from clients. My dad used to, my mum used to say this. My dad will get angry if I wouldn't eat. That's going to create something in him. How old is he?
He's 4 now. Yeah.
He got loads of time.
Yeah. Because my thing was like, that's why I started working on it so much, was I was like, I don't want to pass this, whatever this thing on. So then I got to the point where I was like, and sometimes it helps. Well, it does help when that spurs up for me. I'm for whatever reason, questions seem to help me a lot. So it's like in that moment, I always ask myself, like, if he doesn't want to, if he's full, then why do you need to force more food? And then I'm like, oh, it's stupid. And then I stop. But it's in that moment, it's like, again, it used to be, I would just blow up. But then now it's like, oh, I feel it. And then I go ask myself the question. And then I go, if you're full, dude, you're full. And now it's like, kind of like, if you don't want to eat more, don't worry about it. We can try something else. Like it's just more so like.
It's nothing. It's not about him. It's all about you.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with him. It's about you and your need for him to eat the food, not his need. For some reason, when you ask yourself questions, this is what I tell my clients. When we ask questions, logical questions, we shut down our limbic system, fight or flight, illogical, rational, emotional, and engage prefrontal cortex. It's the logical part of our brain when we're in control. Ask yourself logical questions, problem solving, and you'll switch one off. Come here, no emotion, feel in control. That's what you do.
Yeah.
That's what it works. In any situation, ask yourself a lot of logical questions. I learned this, I taught myself this technique before I had any of these qualifications. When I worked in this grocery store, if I ever get any negative criticism, I'd mope around for hours in self-pity. I don't know why I work here, I hate this job anyway. And I realised after a certain amount of time that I felt more in control. And what happened was I'd ask myself, what am I going to do to fix this situation? What am I going to do to make sure it doesn't happen again? Action, go into problem solving, doing stuff, shut down a logical brain, engage logical brain, no emotion, in control. Because I know I ask myself those questions over time, I now ask them immediately, shortening the time to gain control, feeling control. Last time I did it, we were building a garden bench in my living room. Don't ask me why. My partner said, hold that bit of the bench. I missed it and it smashed our 40-inch TV. Oh, my God. I sat on the floor building a bench, tears in my eyes. I broke the TV. My partner's like, it's all right, nobody got hurt. And I'm like, I broke the TV. And I thought, what am I going to do to fix it? I know I'm going to get another TV. I'm not going to have no TV. Luckily, I have the funds. I went online, I ordered a TV. The TV that was smashed, that meant I was a terrible person, went from meaning that to nothing. I grabbed it, chucked it in the box, top of my wardrobe. It went from meaning everything to nothing. Problem solved the problem, done.
Yeah.
And that's what you do. That's why questions work. Make them more logical. If you really want to keep it, great a technique to overcome anxiety is 5 things I can see, 4 things I can hear, 3 things I can feel. I mean, how many stars are in what are the planets in the solar system? What's my son's middle name? How old's he going to be on his next birthday? What's 8 times 12? Just keep going, time and energy. One shuts down and the other one kicks in. That's how we gain control. Or have a nap. Because once you calm, it just disengages.
Yeah, and
but when we
kind of
tell ourselves this stuff,
yeah,
you're learning from this, your reflection to grow is as you reflect back now, look back now and go, how often am I right when I determine the outcome of a situation using that thought? Never is the answer I always get. I never get it right. Why? Because we're in a logical panic mode. And we go, oh, this means everything. I'm a terrible father. I'm a terrible father because I can't get him to eat. How often are you right? Never, because I know you're a good dad. And so learn, when I do that in that mode, I'm never right. Next time you do it, I know what I'm doing here, and you move to in control because you know what you're doing. But we bypass all these learning experiences one after another. It happens again, and we go, oh my God, it's happening again, it's happening again. Why? Because last time it happened, you didn't want to talk about it after. You didn't want to learn from it. You didn't want to even acknowledge it happened. You missed a learning opportunity. Learn from it, grow from it, and know that actually I never get it right when I predict the outcome of a situation using my danger warning system. which is designed to tell me the worst thing possible.
Yeah.
Don't go in a burning building, Ray. It's going to kill you, is what it's meant to do, not your son isn't eating because you're a terrible father. But it will do if you tell it that's danger, and it will tell you worse than possible. So with my clients, I would get them to reframe in the moment over a certain amount of time. Your brain will stop telling you. This is something you said in the podcast I was just listening to. Over a certain amount of time, the brain goes, oh, that's not danger anymore. Stop warning it. It does.
Yeah.
I don't get in it. Me, I get no negative intrusive thoughts. None that I recognise. If they come in, they're gone. Why? Because I go, do you know what? I'm going to sit with this. I'm going to go to bed to see what happens. Next day comes. No one's knocking on my door. Everything's all right. 2, 3, 4, 5 days go by. Last week, I was really stressed about this. Nothing happened. Nothing's happening. Nothing's happened. Nothing ever happens. What am I doing freaking myself out? Nothing ever happens. So I let it come and I just let it go. Just let it go. If you force a load of emotion and meaning on it, your brain goes, this is important. I need to keep warning you. Let it go. Let it go. Anything that's meant to be with you will stay. Ask yourself, am I in danger? Is it a situational or environmental problem, which is what danger warning system fight or flight is designed to do, a lion, a dinosaur, because it's kept our species alive. Am I in danger? Check. No, I'm not. So it must be here, which is great, because if it's there, it doesn't normally exist. Let it go. See what happens. Just notice. I promise you, nothing's going to happen. But then you must reflect. I let it go. Nothing happened. I'm going to do it again. Just keep doing it. This is why I am now. I've looked back at my entire life as a whole and realised all those people that have opinions of me that I thought meant everything never determined anything, never meant anything. The problems they had with me are exactly that, their problem. Their thoughts about me, well, I'm amazing, mate, but I'm not a mind reader. All those things I told myself that were going to destroy me, kill, nothing ever did. What am I learning? When I'm in my danger panic mode, brain function, I get it right. And my life's okay. The balance of scales when our existence on this planet are tipped in our favour. We are not in the Hunger Games. Everything is good. If there's nothing bad, everything's good. Everything's good. If nothing's happening, everything's good. One bad thing doesn't mean everything's bad. It's just one bad situation. Everything is good. It's tipped in our favour. Start to notice. And add stuff to the list. Self-worth.
Yeah, I think, well, you brought up something about anxiety when I kind of want to tap into that a little bit for people that, especially with like entrepreneurs or coaches, a lot of anxiety comes with being an entrepreneur. And one of the things that, yeah, it's just a lot for a lot of people, a lot of people. And I think for a lot of people, the anxiousness about the future, whatever, my whole thing has always been the more that I stay in the present moment, focus on what now, like what can I do now? Everything seems to get better. And so I don't know, what are your thoughts, I guess, on just entrepreneurship in general and the tools we need to be able to do that? Because I've been relatively fortunate in that I've been through a lot in my life that like, I jokingly say this a lot, and I just learned from one of our guests that I need to stop saying this. I got to find better language around it. But I always say, like, I'm too dumb to know I can't do something. But that, all I'm trying to say is that I just don't put weight on shit. Like, if something fails, it's because I did the wrong action. It doesn't mean that I suck, right? So, I guess, what are your thoughts on that?
First of all, don't let anybody tell you what your needs are. If you don't need to or want to change that, don't. I've just learned I need to change it. Have you? Have you decided you want to? Who's influenced you with that? Do you want to change it? If you don't, don't. So if we tie a negative emotion to a past or current event, put all that meaning on it, you will tie yourself to it, and you will feel the weight of it as you drag it along with you for the rest of your life. Cut it loose, let it go, put it down, give it back to the motherfucker that gave it to you. Nothing has any meaning. So I don't know whether I call myself an entrepreneur, probably not yet. Maybe you can help me with that. Expectations is usually, I'm guessing, where it comes from. Most of the time, the only expectations are the ones we put on ourselves. But we can take them from others, as parents say to us, you must be a doctor, you must do this, you must do that. We take them on, and it becomes, I must. But there are, again, expectations. If you put your expectations so high that you look up at them and you just feel inferior and demotivated, lower them right down. Nobody else is going to know. They'll just see you with a smile on your face, feeling accomplished. You can meet them and raise them and meet them and raise them and meet them and raise them, but lower them. Tomorrow I'm just going to get out of bed and shower. This is where I was in lockdown a couple of years ago. Tomorrow I'm just going to make my bed and shower. So some days I couldn't even do that. I did that, I felt accomplished. Now I can achieve more. But when it's so high I can't reach it, what's the point? So with entrepreneurship, I'm guessing it's that these expectations, and as we can often find ourselves comparing ourselves to others or where we think we should be, that can make us feel less than. And that's your very valid point. When I'm in the moment, it feels better. Of course it does. We're in the present moment, and anxiety usually comes from thoughts about the past or the future. The past is gone, the future doesn't exist. You're wasting your time. Bring yourself back to the present moment and recognize you are always in control, either of the situation itself or your response to it. And notice that actually you aren't in any danger. Everything's all right. And if you need a minute, you just go, do you know what, Ray? Just going to think about that. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Nobody's complaining. If someone wants an answer from you, do you know what? I've noticed I'm a reflector, and if I give you an answer now, I'm going to regret that tomorrow, and I'm going to sleep on it. I'll come back to you tomorrow. I can't force you to give your opinion. But that's self-awareness, and that's I guess it's just building on ourselves and knowing that, other people, they don't determine anything about us. They don't live our lives, pay our bills, do our jobs. None of it. And I was influenced massively about 5 years ago by 2 newspaper articles I read by nurses who managed end-of-life wards, looked after elderly people about to die. Biggest regret from people about to die, both lists. Number 1, I wish I'd made myself happy. I spent my entire life making everybody else happy, and I never was. And here I am today, about to die, and I'm still not happy. Happiness, that's all that matters. When we're about to go, that is all that will matter. Not how many cars you had, how much money you've got. Happiness, it's a choice. Find it, create it, but choose it. Notice if you've got any situations in your life that make you feel less than great. Stop in the moment and notice what you've got. Bring your thoughts back, because as those spiral of thoughts go, he looks better than me. He's got more money than me. What happens if he's got more? Is he better than me? Does that mean I'm going to fail? And we spiral. And it's not like we choose to follow them. It's almost like we don't choose to not follow. We just keep going. And it exaggerates because anxiety does kick in. Anxiety is the fight or flight response. It is a boost of energy to fight, flight, or freeze. As in, fight the fire. If not, you freeze and burn to death. So it's energy. Best thing you do, go for a run. You'll feel it here, here, here. Increased heart rate, breathing rate, sweaty palms. You will feel in danger. And of course, if you don't realise what it is, you'll be looking at that competition and going, I'm in real danger. Because I know I'm in danger, but it's only because you've told yourself you are. Notice, situationally, most people don't give a shit about us. They're running their own lives. Yeah. But as we tell ourselves that people's judgment of us is everything, now fear of judgment from others stops us doing everything. The only person judging us is ourselves. And so just notice as you forget that person and do it anyway. Face each fear as you then create a belief, I can overcome my fears, and then you're winning. Notice, reflect. Do you know what? Every time I tell myself this, I go for it, and I'm always all right. Let me just do it again and again and again. New belief system created, you won't even question it. But our mind is designed to warn us. There's no function for it to tell us good stuff. It doesn't function. It's going to tell us about the bad stuff to keep us safe. And of course, if we tell it that stuff is bad, it will keep reminding us. Like I had a client who she would send a friend a WhatsApp message, and when the ticks went blue, she'd literally watch the phone 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. No, she's not answered me. She's upset with me. This is really bad, like really, really bad. And I forced her to take her out to lunch and talk to her. And the friend went, you know what? I'm just one of those people that read messages and forget to text back. I'm really sorry. No problem. No problem. Yeah. But when the fear, usually fear comes from a gap in our knowledge. We can't complete it. Overthinking for me is the inability to fully process something and move past it. And as we have gaps in our knowledge that stop us doing it, we fill the gap with fear. Because it's a fear response, it's empty. Fear, limbic system, designed to tell us the worst thing possible. And I've got a post on my page about where we create mountains of fear and worry that we can't overcome them. And every time we attempt it, we step back, it gets bigger and bigger. I work with people to reduce mountains to speed bumps, which you slow on approach deliberately, because otherwise you're all over the place. Slow an approach, notice what's around you, ride over them easily and carry on. They're designed to slow us down and show us things. But when we put mountains up, because I can't, then that will stop us, and that does stop people. You said your fear, the spider's not really, but a definition of a phobia is where the perceived danger outweighs the actual, or the fear outweighs the perceived danger. So it's an imbalance. So you might not necessarily have it. You probably feel a bit awkward maybe, but not necessarily really, really fearful. But it's been installed. Everything we know, we've learned. We're born with two fears, loud noises and falling. Everything else is learned. So where do we learn it from? As we observe others, or we get taught it deliberately, but we observe, but notice that we can change that, and we create our own belief system. Basically, you and I could go through the same experience as a child. You might create a belief system different to mine. So I might go victim mindset, and you might go, fuck this, there's no way I'm doing that. One of my clients, they go, usually it's all my fault, and they feel weak with it. And I teach them to get logical and process. One of my friends was, his dad abandoned the family, his mum was abusive. As a child, he developed what I teach my clients. He goes ultra logical straight away, but he has an inability to feel any emotion to an extreme level. He can't. So when people panic and worry, he doesn't get it, but he can't feel the happiness at that level either, because that was how his brain developed to deal with it. And so just noticing all of this stuff, stop time, notice everything's all right. And this is what I do with my hypnosis. Stop time, just pause a moment, and just wait. I'm all right. I'm just going to see what happens tomorrow. Everything's okay. Everything's all right. But our mind is designed to do that. All of our minds are working properly. These people with anxiety, it's working properly. They've just told their brain unconsciously that things on the danger list, well, they put the wrong things on the danger list. Yeah. Other people's competition, other people's opinions of me, etc. And we've taught them. Well, I think unconsciously.
I mean, everything you said is like spot on, and I think with entrepreneurship, it's really easy to compare. That's part of the problem, right? We get online. I made a post about this where like I was oddly enough really down on myself because in 6 months I took an idea and I made it a multiple six-figure company. 6 months, and I was pissed. Will, I was mad. I was like, I should have been at 1 million. I was pissed. And then I go, where the fuck is this coming from? And I'm like, oh, like I didn't want to make the post because I was like, I don't want other people to think that I'm like that, what? And then I was like, what am I doing? Like we literally came up, Will, when I tell you the agency literally was spawned from me pulling the idea out of my ass on a phone call. And then the next day we had a landing page up. The next like couple months we had like 10 plus clients. Like it, and then it went. And then I go, instead of being proud of the fact that we pulled the team together to develop a multiple six-figure agency, I go, I should have been at 7. And that's part of the problem is going like,
I call that sabotaging. Because some people will do that. They'll never be good enough because personally you might need ratification from a parent. Because you can't get it, you'll be a high achiever at work and you'll go and keep going, but it will never be enough to tick that box because you need that box ticked, not this one, and you'll just be a high achiever but still never feel good enough here, but it's this side that needs work.
Well, that's why too, like with the Coaches Academy, it was really important for me to develop a coaching program / mastermind that was about finding the thing that you love doing.
Sorry to interrupt you. Before we move on from that, can you just tell me, do you know that you're really good at what you do?
Good question. I think yes and no. Here, let me say this. I'm really good at one thing.
You're a coach? Would you say you're a coach? Yeah. Right? If you say to yourself, do this for me, close your eyes and say to yourself, I'm an amazing coach. You'll use whatever word you want instead of amazing. I'm an amazing coach. Say it, stop, wait, and notice how it makes you feel in your gut, your throat, your chest, because you'll know if you've lied to yourself or not. Your belief system. Just say it out loud and notice how it makes you feel.
I'm an amazing coach.
And how does it feel?
I mean, it feels like it doesn't feel like anything. It just feels like that's just a statement.
Good.
Like,
that's good. I mean, it could make you feel happy, but it's good because you know. But some people go, yeah, that niggle doesn't feel right. Why? Because it doesn't match the belief system.
Yeah.
And
Now, I
so,
mean, like, I think what I've always done was I don't, what I look at what I'm good at is decoding success for others. And that's why I'm confidently able to say I'm a good coach, because that's all I'm trying to do. But
that's your and
where,
that's the measure, isn't it?
yeah,
So you've created the measure, you've met the measure, success.
mhm.
That's it.
Exactly.
So other people irrelevant. Your level of success are your measures, like good dad getting son to eat, measure to success. Take it off the list, by the way. This one, this is my aim. This is what I achieve. Therefore, success. Same as me. I'm an amazing therapist. I'm an amazing coach. I've helped over 200 people in 2 years build self-worth, move past trauma, overcome phobias. Sometimes I do some shit and I'm like, how the hell did that happen? I
Yeah.
cannot deny it. I help people. I'm amazing at what I do. And I'm going to shout about that, not because of my ego. First of all, shouting about my work gets people work. And secondly, I know I'm amazing at what I do. I think we get too modest. I think we should feel proud about what we do and should feel really, really good about it. Because ultimately, as you and I feel good as we say it, that's how our clients want to feel when they say they're a good mum or a good whatever. That's how they want to feel. So if we can't feel it, how do we expect them to want to feel it? I'm an amazing coach. I'm an amazing therapist. You're an amazing coach. That's why we've connected. Feel proud about it. We're not saying I'm better than you. We're saying
Yeah.
I am. And so it is really important that we should all be able to do that, I feel. That's the self-worth. That's the self-love. And to be able to say, yeah, I really love this about myself. Because self-love for me is a bit of a weird one because love is a unique emotion. It comes out of nowhere, right? We fall in love. It comes out of nowhere. So as we tell people, go and love yourself, how do we make that happen? We can't force it.
Yeah.
For me, it's self-respect, self-appreciation, self-acceptance, boundaries, sticking to them, and all of that good stuff. And that's how we show us as we love ourselves and recognizing I'm good at what I do. I'm amazing at what I do, actually. I'm really, really good at what I do. Let me get some more testimonials. I help you. It's brilliant, right? And you're amazing too. You're all amazing. Ray, I think you're amazing. I know you're amazing at what you do. I'm really honoured to be here connecting with you today. We share some goddamn appreciation for each other. It's so easy to knock each other down, or at least believe others are knocking us down.
Well, again, that's why, like, for me, like, when we're looking at what we're trying to build at the academy, right? It wasn't based on this is the flaw that I see in the coaching programs today. It's here's my system. If it doesn't work for you, you're broken. There's something wrong with you. Versus that what we developed was, look, I don't know. Here's the pathway. Here's my best recommendation. But let's figure out what works for you. Because the truth of the matter is, dude, you can't make that shit up overnight. I don't care how good the program it is. You can do a program, spend 10 grand, do a program, and it can make you 6 figures. But the question is, would you do that for the rest of your life? Because, I guarantee you, how many people
came up with the idea, you develop it and it would change over time anyway, wouldn't it?
Exactly. But here's like what it's really important to me, like as a coach, is I can tell you how to make money well, but I can't guarantee that you'll love it. It's like, while you're here, why don't we develop a program, an offer that you could do the rest of your life? Like for me, I could do the academy, like the elevated as a brand. I could do the rest of my life. And here's how I knew that I wanted to do the academy is I would do it for free. Yeah. And in fact, like we literally dropped the price to $97 because it wasn't about the money. I just needed you to pay enough to where you showed up, right? Because if I did it for free, you wouldn't show up.
As I commit, as I invest financially, I'm investing here, aren't I?
Yeah. So I had to make it something. But for me, I would do the fucking group for free because I love it so much. And then I realized I was coaching people before I started the academy. I was doing like one-on-one coaching a lot. And there was one in particular, we developed this program that literally one client paid her 30 grand for like 3 months of work. We came up with another program for her, which resulted in multiple 6 figures. She's not doing that program anymore because she wasn't happy with it. Like she wasn't happy doing it. It didn't fulfill her. And that's what I don't want, right? Because again, you can make money doing anything. That's not the hard part. The hard part is can we find something that you literally fucking wake up going, let's go? Because if you're an entrepreneur, if you just want to make money, go get a fucking job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you might as well find something you love doing and happens to make you money. It is perfectly possible to have both.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's, it's like I say about my job with the horrific stories I listen to. I don't know how anybody could do my job just for the money, but yeah, of course, there must be people that
But I
do
guarantee
that.
you love it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I say, well, I haven't got enough money to do it for free. If I won the lottery, I always say, if I won the lottery, I would still do it, and I would do it for free.
Yeah.
You know, on my page where I do lives and offer loads of free advice.
I get it.
I just
I
want
was
to
just gonna say, like, dude, I see you on live all the time, and I'm like,
yeah,
this is a guy, and that's why again I wanted to have you on the podcast. And again, I'm gonna invite you to the academy because we need people like you that like are because the academy is this is the whole concept. It's actually comes from me doing sports and being an MMA fighter. Is it should be a situation where you come in and yes, you're gonna learn from me and whatever, but it's more so about what can you give to the group and
mhm.
help other people, and they help you, and it's a great partnership. But enough about that. But the idea, I could tell you fucking love what you do because you go on live. By the way, your lives aren't 10 minutes, bro. Your lives are like like an hour. That is someone
Yeah,
that fucking loves helping people, and I'm like, that's the people that I get stoked about. Will is like I can tell I'm like they're gonna fucking change the world. And we jokingly say like with the agency, for example, it's like we want to find the undiscovered thought leader because I want to find somebody that actually gives a fuck about people. And I know I'm like getting kind of heated, but I just seen so many fucking people make it about money and they're fucking miserable.
yeah. I mean, my situation, I do this because I love helping people, and I keep saying to people, I just need to be discovered. I could be on the stage. I love it. But when I get problems financially and I end up doing it for money, I say, I'm going to quit. I'd rather do another job.
Yeah.
I cannot do this for the money when I'm struggling for money. As I'm trying to get clients, I need to pay my next bill. It feels wrong. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh,
You can't do it.
can't do it. So, yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Anytime I've made getting clients about money, I get the wrong clients.
yeah,
And because I've done this, right? Like I had this, literally, I was just talking to my team about this. We started the agency. Literally, it was like so easy to get all the clients we got because it came from a place of I wanted to help people. Then we started making some money, and then I started making it about money. And then all of a sudden, I noticed that like I wasn't getting the right people. Like it was just weird. And granted, like people that listen to the podcast probably tired of me talking about like fucking quantum and shit. But like I realized what I was doing. I was putting the wrong energy out, and that's why I was
but yeah,
attracting the wrong people.
of course, yeah, well, it's that abundance lacking mindset. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, you might have seen them when I was like a mind, body, and spirit. I do tarot cards and everything. Sometimes, like,
Oh, dude. We could talk
yeah,
about
yeah,
that too, because Kayla's into that.
yeah. I've got some here somewhere. Yeah, there, right there. Because it is for me. If the client believes in it, like I do past life regression in hypnosis. Do past lives exist? I don't know, but it doesn't matter. If you believe you've got a past life and your trauma is buried in that past life, I'll take you back there, and by solving that, it will solve it because that your mind has told me. My clients tell me all the information I need. I'm really good at listening. I can hear a tone, inflection. I can see body language. I'm like, oh, what's over there? There was one lady that came to a meditation on live I did once, and I called her after because she wanted some help. She was trying to move past the grief of losing her mum, and I was kind of on her side as I looked at her, and every time she talked about it, she kept looking to the left. I thought, what are you looking at? She's, nothing. I said, listen, close your eyes, tell me, imagine what's there in front of you in your imagination. She's like, I get them to describe it, the colour, the shape, and she described it as a black hole. And I said to her, right, in your perception, where's the future? And it was here, so left and right and everything forward. And where's the past? Over your left shoulder. So I said to her, close your eyes, grab the black hole, throw it over your left shoulder. She did it, and I said, how do you feel? Like nothing's in my way. She moved past the grief, like that, because she made it that. And my clients tell me everything. I'm just really good at listening. And so noticing that actually those people, what you said before around, this is my work, and if it doesn't work for you, you're broken. Well, that's where we get stuck. I always do it like this. It works for everybody else. It must be you. No, you're just not flexible. The purpose of communication is the response it elicits. If your purpose is to deliver this, you're successful by delivering it. But if the purpose is to deliver it and get people to understand it and use it correctly, then you've got to wait because you've got to notice that everybody's going to use it. We don't all communicate and receive information in the same way. We have preferences. Someone might be auditory, visual. You know, the belief system as it filters through, we communicate out. People are different, and if you treat us all the same, you'll not get the same results. And if you think then that's the other people, you're destined to fail and you won't connect with people. We are all different. Notice that those people will tell you how to deliver it. That's coaching, right? Stop, shut up, it's not about you. Listen, they'll give you everything you need. They'll give you absolutely everything you need. but notice what your intention is. What's the measure? What's the success? If it's, I must get into it or I'm not good, well, you're destined to fail every other day, mate, as we all would be. But if the measure is, I want to deliver it, great, but how many are going to be successful? I want to deliver this course, this coaching course, in a way that everybody uses it and feels confident using it and gets the results that they are destined to get, because ultimately it is also about their motivation and their drive, which we can inspire but can't give them. We give them the tools, we give them the confidence, so that the behaviours and the physical stuff, but the motivation has to come from them. We can inspire, of course, so we can't determine their success. They can determine that success. What is our success? To deliver a course that people will understand and be able to use in a way that works for them. Is that going to be different for every other people? Yeah. What are your expectations from the day? Have we met them? As I describe the day and tell you what I'm going to deliver you, and they go, what are your expectations? You basically repeat back what I've told you. And at the end of the day, to meet them, because I delivered everything. Yes, you did, Will. Success. Thank you. I'll have a Google review and a testimonial, please. Thank you very much. We have met their expectations, because this is what you're going to learn. Have you signed up for it? Therefore, they're your expectations. All I've got to do is deliver it, and I've met your expectations because I've already told you what your expectations are going to be. But if you don't like that, don't sign up for the course. Everybody's different. Notice that. We're not computers. See people's value and shut up and listen. I've learned most of the stuff I know from my clients.
Yeah.
As I listen to them, I'm like, oh my God, that's genius. I can't believe it. So I listen, because it's not about me. As much as I bang on about how amazing I am, this is not an ego thing. I'm like, you're amazing. I learned so much from my clients. Just listen, and that's where we get success, as we listen to other people. What are your measures? What's your measure of success?
Yeah.
If it's money,
well,
not money.
Well, man, I think this is a good place to pause for now. But man, we're definitely gonna have you back on the show, because again, I think I really appreciate people like you, and that's why, like, again, what I look at now, again, because of people like you help people realize what they actually want. And when you realize what you want, it's a lot easier to go and get it. And like for me, tapping into more about what I want, what's important to me, help me figure out, like, even like, for example, if I meet somebody and I feel inside of me, I'm like, I need to fucking help this person. I'm excited to help this person. Like, that's how, but I didn't have that until I got really clear on what I wanted and the purpose behind what I do and so on. So I know that you help a lot of people with that. People that are listening, please check out the description below. Get in contact with Will. I'm telling you right now, if you follow him on Instagram, it will change your life. Obviously, I'll have everything that they can reach out to you from in the description. Will, thank you so much for joining me today, man.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody.